All right, click the link to my channel here over at Subscribe. Sorry, this feels like Cracker Barrel meets springtime for Hitler. Woke comes for Cracker Barrel. You know, if you see well, one, you really shouldn't hire women for anything. They shouldn't be involved in any positions of trust or responsibility. She should be at home with her grandkids. And the fact that she's destroying these billion-dollar businesses is absolutely, well, it's just kind of peak Weimar right now. So this could kind of be a continuing series of why everything sucks and is just going to continue to get worse, which would just evolve into me Fed posting. If you enjoy something, and if you are, we'll say heritage Americans, if you look like me, they will eventually destroy it because they hate you, and it's really not much deeper than that. From you saw what they did to comic books over the years, to Hollywood's a great example, including to the point of reboots and woke sequels. Believe it or not, Gremlins and Goonies. 1984, 1985, fun movies for the time. Gremlins was a little dark. They called it a black comedy at the time. I went and rewatched it last week. I'm like, this is a little spooky for kids. Great movies. Gremlins 3 and Goonies 2 are on the horizon. 40 years later, seems like a little bit, you should have made things kind of within so things are timely, so you still have the same audience. I mean, now you're getting the grandkids of the people who saw the original movies. The reason they're doing that is they want to destroy these silly, fun kids movies because now the audience is old enough for some nostalgia, and they have to destroy the memories like they do with every other IP they can get a hold of. Even movies like something like Joker 1 and Joker 2. The audience misunderstood it, so we're going to ruin it, or Star Wars or Ghostbusters or anything. I mean, what an abomination Ghostbusters was. Anything they can get a hold of, they will just, if the wrong people enjoyed it, people look like you and I, women like this, it's like there's just a shark with blood in the water. Maybe they'll remake Jaws. So they hate you, they hate your heritage, they just hate your race. It's pretty simple. And also because they can't create new stories. Because if they did, they would want to create woke stories. Movies with very far left-wing globalist themes, and those are not organic. One of the best recent pop culture stories told was Lord of the Rings, which is a very blood and soil nationalist type of story. It's everything the globalists hate. And obviously that movie was a tremendous success because it tried to honor the original artistic vision. And then you have Rings of Power on Amazon, which was not a success, and they spent $700 million on it, and they don't care. They made like Afro Hobbits and Afro Elves. It doesn't make sense, but they did it anyway because the money doesn't matter. So when they come out and they make new IPs that are woke from the start, the audience won't support these movies. So their only choice is to do the bait and switch, which they do with everything now. Willow and Witcher and Lord of the Rings and what's that Robert Jordan series that's on Amazon that nobody watches. So they do a bait and switch where they hook people with the old name recognition. You're like, Star Wars and Star Trek and Goonies and Gremlins, right? This is, we're just continuation. And then you see it, and it's like, wait a minute, why does it not look like the original? What do you mean, 77 Star Wars? Yeah, why doesn't it look like the new Star Wars? How come it doesn't look like that old universe? But that was like mostly white people. Yeah, that's what it's supposed to look like. That's a good thing. That's the original universe. That's the story told. If you want to continue the story and you still want it to be Star Wars, it has to be that. It's like with James Bond and replacing it with some black chick on a moped. It's like, this is an abomination. It's not James Bond, but they just have different values from us, and I don't think they're used to people just being honest with them about this kind of stuff. So there's not even the option of just not making a left-wing movie. Like, that's not even on the table. It's not even the question of making a neutral movie to honor the artist's original intent. It's everything has to be race swapped and gay and trans and that kind of stuff. So ruining movies wasn't enough for them. They had to come for a restaurant, which was a little too white-coated in an increasingly Mexican America, who I guess want taco shops and those big hats that they all wear when they're rattling their Macarenas and they wear their pullovers. Those were really popular when I was a kid. I think every Mexican restaurant should have a greeting with a guy with the Jennifer Lopez hand puppet and her pretty dress and tell the customers how much she likes tacos and burritos. But maybe the new South Park guys wouldn't allow that. They seem to have lost their sense of humor. Trump derangement syndrome, which is weird because it's like 8 years later. There used to be the authentic restaurants out there, and then they slowly evolve into a certain character, the rustic charm. But they're rare, and what they are is they're in one place. They're not a chain. As soon as something becomes a chain, it's over. What the chains were doing was adding flair. Thanks, Jennifer Aniston. It was the most soulless, pointless pseudo charm with crap on the walls, but it's a better vibe than just plain walls, admittedly. But it's the same cheeseburger, the same beer. Nothing changes substantially, but it catches your eye. It's old newspaper articles. It's like an old San Francisco bar back in the 90s when they were still cool. Sports crap, memorabilia. I mean, it's the equivalent of the texture on the Millennium Falcon. It lends an air of authenticity. It's the Jack Kirby effect, the flair on the walls. If I guess I could go. If you go to the Jack Kirby's Eternals comic, he was really good at like big scientific machines in the background that they just looked like they did things. AI does something kind of similar and very spooky, where if you can ask it to fill up an attic shop or an antique shop or something like that, but when you look closely, nothing is real. It's just a background with similarly complex shapes. And something about it disturbs me. Like one day the machine is going to replace us with NPCs. This yell at like rectangular lit objects that look like phones. The machine doesn't know why we do the things we do, but it thinks it can copy it. So what happened was the restaurant changed their logo and had an interior design change. The thing with the logo isn't so weird. Most companies, unfortunately, change their logos when they realize that most advertising had to be done on a 3 by 5 inch cell phone screen because that's what everyone uses now. So they had to get rid of fine details. The screens couldn't display them, or they'd be too small to read. They need things to pop. So they really didn't have a choice there, and everyone did it. And they don't want brand confusion, so they had to change their logo everywhere. And it sucks now because everything has the same blocky, efficient font. It just feels a little too Fahrenheit 451, Brave New World, 1984 type of vibe, where they killed part of the communication of the message by removing the art. And I know it's just advertising, but it's a piece of artistic design that the smartphone's partially responsible for destroying. Where things are getting too efficient and things just look too bland. Unfortunately, you can't stop progress, but like a little creativity and thing. California used to have towns that kind of started to change in the 80s and 90s as the demographics changed, and they were these funky little towns and funky little stores and restaurants. And then as the people changed, the eclectic, eccentric nature of the towns changed. So they just started to they lost all their charm. It's like you go to you go to like a Russian restaurant, and there's Mexicans behind the counter or something. It's like, I'm just gonna skip this. So you got to wonder if the old design really needed to be changed. Admittedly, it is a busy design, a guy with a barrel and the two sets of fonts. But how much internet advertising were they doing for the demographic is like 200-year-old heritage Americans, and they were telling you the vibe of the place. This was there's so many little places in California that had this kind of vibe, and this is like even in California, but you have to go back 40 years ago when they had all these cool designs. It looks like it's the guy from Pet Sematary, if you remember the book and the movie. The movie really captured the book well, but you start to think about the story, and that guy was kind of like the devil, the temptress type of guy, because he introduced the neighbor to the cemetery. Once you have a restaurant, people just continue to go as long as it's not horrible, and it's stuff like chicken strips and French fries. And like the blooming onion stuff that, like how do you want to get heartburn, the various ways. It's not the hardest stuff to fry up. It's all pretty much the same. Maybe the logo redesign got people talking because people are tired of everything looking the same. It just feels like it feels fake, the McDonaldization of America, and people want a little artistic design in things. And we're not NPCs. We have souls. We want to see the characteristics of the place, but cell phones killed it. And then a related note is before Levi's came to Europe, people dressed in various homemade ethnic costumes, but Levi's came and they destroyed America, and then the Europeans saw the American fashion and they thought it was so cool, and then they slowly destroyed all of the European cultural heritage costumes. Europe would have been better off keeping everything from America out, from clothing to fast food, especially Hollywood. There should be no McDonald's in Paris, even though they serve beer there, much less Europe at all, or even in America now that I think about it, or even any chain restaurants. What would happen if we just limited chains? Do we really need a chain restaurant? And isn't that what the left wing wants? More individual owners of the means of production? But if a Nazi like me, in their minds, suggests a good idea, they reject it because to them it's fruit of the poison tree. Everything we say to them is some sort of dog whistle. The feminists used to want to ban things like prawn, but then the globalists pushed the what's it called, multiracial feminism on them. There's some Bolshevik name for it, and most of them, unfortunately, are involved as ladies of negotiable affection. So the entire feminist movement had to do 180 on prawn and prostitution, though now they just rebranded it as sex work, which sounds crazy. So now they fight for women's rights to be abused. So, hashtag feminism keeps winning. Congratulations on your anal gangbang. I'm sure this is what the original feminists set out. No, it's her choice. It's like, not really, because the economic conditions kind of make it a necessary option. It's like if you didn't have it as an option, it wouldn't be a choice. It's like, can the left and the right just agree some things are bad? And the left can't because they have oppositional defiance disorder. Where if some Nazi wants to end prawn and protect society, what a monster! They burn books. You go, do you not know the story of Weimar and burning books? Go look at the books they burned. Anyway, so now towns are unfortunately fungible, where every town starts to look like every other town. You drive in, it's the same Chevron sign, the same restaurant sign, the same telephone wires. It's like, this is exactly what the Founding Fathers wanted. There's a meme of that. So they got rid of the old guy sitting in a chair with a barrel next to him. Now it's just another corporate logo with as much personality as the Glock ad, which, don't get me wrong, fine technology, fine Liberty devices. It's just that advertisement. It's like a capital G with the spelling. I kind of feel like there's something else going on here. Some NPC, though I'm not a huge fan. I always feel like they aim high for my hand or something. I'm all into Springfields, which probably doesn't have as good a reputation, but it's like you got to be comfortable with what you use. Some NPC phenomenon where the globalist machine is cutting down the tall flowers. It bothers us because these type of designs are not what people do. We don't want to turn into NPCs, but the message subconsciously is that everything needs to streamline into efficiency. Where in 1984 they're hard at getting rid of words and double plus on good to replace them. Then the interior design went from a cozy rustic antique store vibe to what looks like a brighter display case at a museum. Like, it's just not the old place anymore. We're not NPCs. Vibe, color, lighting, it's important. It's what it would be if you ran it through an efficiency filter to improve things a little bit, but it ends up sucking the charm out of it. And admittedly, the charm in a chain store corporation is not amazing to start with, but now there's not even the pretending to have rustic charm. It's rustic charm by an AI for humanoid NPCs. So they sucked that last little bit of personality out of the corporate chain restaurant where the charm was only the appearance of authenticity. Now it's a copy of a copy. It's like the final straw for the suspension of disbelief. If it's enjoyed by the European Americans, the people who made America, then the globalists will destroy it. I love saying that because it bothers. I know the no left-wingers listen to this. There's like every once in a while someone will leave a snarky comment. It's like this. I found the left winger. I love saying that because it's so brutally true. People create new people create the places they came from. Just probably as far as I can go. Anyway, so whatever the heritage Americans create, the globalists destroy. It's not deep. They're just anti-white. They've been for a long time. And I'm sure that the sandwiches at this restaurant haven't changed. In California, there's like 2 Cracker Barrel. There's one in Sacramento. I'm not going to drive up there for research. I'm sure the food hasn't changed, but it's this feeling that they're slowly turning us into NPCs. Like the next step is food. Though I will say, people got a lot of enthusiasm over, what's that, In-N-Out burger. If you're in the mood for fast food, In-N-Out's pretty good every once in a while. It's like it's Soylent Green on the horizon next, because it honestly, like anything horrific you can think of, any far out conspiracy theory where people in power will destroy the cattle death slaves, just count on it happening. This isn't the cool future Blade Runner promise where Harrison Ford is eating noodles and there's a bunch of neon, and like the cool non-whites are like, Japanese. That's, that allows you a funky Blade Runner society, not what America has ended up as. Is just like it's a darker version of Idiocracy. Or Idiocracy was like, oh, look at all these white people making babies. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's a fun movie, but it's like, they cucked a little bit about that. It's like, yeah, white people would just create a Wakanda. What are you talking about? We'd have outposts on the moons of Jupiter. We'd be on Europa by now. But it was fun, And it also feels like an FU to the customer, which it is. This lady, I guarantee she hates white people. And comics, movies have also been wokeified, and they left their customers behind. And I'm sure this is not going to hurt the bottom line. Like, the stock goes down, it's going to recover. Though, if I was her, I definitely would have traded on this prediction that it's going to go down, because you would have made just a ton of money depending on how liquid Cracker Barrel is. But it's just something that sucks out a little bit more spark of life. And these parasites like this lady, anything white people enjoy, anything European Americans enjoy, she wants to deconstruct and dismantle in typical Bolshevik fashion. And I'm trying to think of a black example for their restaurants, but I don't know where they eat. If there's like a specific black coded restaurant, I don't know any. But it would be like taking down the sports memorabilia and replacing it with pictures. Anyway, I thought I always thought the chicken and waffle thing, I thought that was a joke. I saw it in a movie, and I guess it's real. I don't know how that works. I know somebody invented a fried chicken sandwich with donuts for bread slices, which I would try. I think that sounds interesting once. And the other one was like a burger with fried chicken as the bread, that actually sounds pretty good. But it sounds like kind of a fever dream. Let me say that you should not hire women for almost anything. They're not good at 99% of the positions they're in. I love women, but it's a sign of the end of society that they're working outside the home in positions of like this. They're wholly incapable of making these decisions. This woman should be home with her grandkids. If this woman could get away with it, she'd have Martin Luther King stuff on the walls and not the more based original. Women are really susceptible to these globalist fads. Women and soy boys, and actually there's been studies on this, that they filter their responses, their worldview, through things that the crowd will accept, where right-wing people are more likely to give you the truth no matter the political incorrectness. It's the Apu frog telling a crowd of people, like, yes, you're all wrong, you're all brainwashed. Then you see this woke woman behind forget her name, with everything feels like, problematic, serious glasses. And it starts to feel like the Jaguar rebrand, where they went from selling cars to what looked like weird models marching around, where you looked at the car, then to the models, and you wonder, like, well, what's the connection to these Fruit Loops and a car? They were dressed like a 70s pop band, and how does it sell cars? None of it makes sense. If I was in the Jaguar ad, I would have a hot blonde chick, English. Oh, that was the other thing with the ad, is like there were no actual European people in it. I'd have some hot blonde chick in the new Jaguar doing donuts, and then she tosses the keys to her boyfriend. Instead, you get the Village people, thanks to the cocaine-addicted ad agency, who later got fired, and they probably went to go to the NFL, and they put the designs in the end zones, like, give peace a chance, or end racism, or, whatever. We need to get back to calling things gay and retarded. And I know people get offended by those terms, but it's the best way to start turning woke around sans Civil War, which, if you're a student of any history, is on the way. And it's weird to me how people think history doesn't continue right now. It's happening right now. You're living it. I just finished a book called 1776 from Washington's point of view, and it felt very topical. It was like only 250 years ago. It felt like it could be written in a few years with just modified drones for the old cannons they used to haul around. So apparently the boomers eat at Cracker Barrel, and the boomers are the heritage Americans. Unfortunately for them, there's a video I'm gonna do on SubScribeStar. They didn't have grandkids, and they like, people blame them for their active behavior, and that's just, unfortunately, it's not fair. You just can't blame them for what they did what they didn't know what they were doing. It's like, you know what's going on now if you're listening on the Odyssey and SubScribeStar, and if you're just playing video games, then you're more to blame because you have the knowledge. Boomers didn't have the knowledge. So what happened was they didn't have grandkids because they allowed Generation X and millennials to be brainwashed by globalist anti-natal media. When I was a kid, they pushed like global warming and get on birth control and don't have kids. And it's like, oh, yeah, they did that to the West in general. What happened? Oh, we're going to replace you with people from the third world. Oh, but it's not the same country because people aren't fungible. Oh, that's hate speech. That's hate speech to say that only Europeans could create what Europeans created. But it's the truth? Yeah, it's the truth. So, I mean, have a baby race. That's pretty much the only thing that'll turn it around. So they're brainwashed by the media, globalist media, to not have kids. And then the 60s Civil Rights Act, which destroyed the right of choice of assembly, and the Hart-Celler, when they opened the borders, meant that they had to compete with people from the third world who will live 8 people to a house. Well, it's just kind of supply and demand. What happens when you have 8 people paying rent on a house? It's like, well, they're not going to sell the houses anymore if BlackRock and Larry Fink would even allow it. They're just going to rent them for like $3,000 a month. So like young white couples are not able to have one person working and buy a house and raise a bunch of kids because they simply can't afford the house because of increased housing costs, because there's more demand. And the answer is not to build more houses because that lowers the quality of life for everyone. The answer is to close the borders and deport tens of millions of people. Unfortunately, that's not happening, and that's not going to happen short of a civil war or a rebel war. I don't know what you'd call it. It's just supply and demand. You have housing costs are now astronomical. They devalue the dollar because you have a lot of labor that's not paying taxes on things, and they're getting a lot of taxpayer subsidies. So it's like all it does is like anarcho-tyranny, where the people who are middle class and paying taxes are absolutely destroyed, and they feel they can't afford to have kids because they have to pay to subsidize their own demographic replacement. I mean, I guess you don't really. I guess there's really no way out of this other than conflict. Anyway, so the new demographic doesn't want to go to a American coded restaurant, which when I say American, I mean heritage American, people like us. So I'm assuming some new restaurant will replace these old white places as the demographic unfortunately dies off. The boomer demographics, I think, the biggest in America, and they didn't have many kids, but then their kids didn't have any kids because they allowed the media to control the narrative, and they didn't seek redress of grievance. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys all next episode.